Hidden amongst other high-profile executive orders signed by Donald Trump this week is a call for immigrant crime reports, which is a new thing I didn't know would be a thing, to be put out on a weekly basis. Here's a section from the executive order. To better inform the public regarding the public safety threats associated with sanctuary jurisdictions, the Secretary shall, on a weekly basis, make public a comprehensive list of criminal actions committed by aliens and the jurisdiction that ignored or otherwise failed to honor a detainer, which has an interesting two-part effect. One, you get to magnify and highlight disproportionately the crime being done by, from your point of view, a hated minority group in this country. You also get to shame a city for allowing crime to happen inside of its geographic boundaries. And so that's a useful thing for them to put out there. Now, this is coming at the same time that we're building the wall and we're setting up huge detention centers on the border. A number of other things were being done. But this one, in a way, in terms of it's just clear propaganda, clear racist propaganda, almost bothers me more. Because I knew that the wall was going to come. I didn't know that he's going to be putting together reports that Fox is going to be able to run 2-minute hates based on every single week going forward.
It's pure racism is what it is. Because if I'm in a sanctuary city and I commit a crime, right, doesn't matter.
Does your
right?
name get on the list?
My name doesn't get on the list because
No.
I'm white. You know, and so there's no, it is exactly what you just said. It's propaganda, but it's really, it's racism before it's anything else. It's the us versus them constantly. And I think it's the ugliest thing, you know, and this is all, let's just keep in mind, from that inauguration speech to the executive orders to this kind of bullshit, this is all Steve Bannon. This is his signature. He won the election for Donald Trump. He did a really good job at putting that campaign together when it was falling apart with Manafort and Lewandowski. He did a really good job. I mean, objectively speaking, as that guy is coming in to fix my car. I hate that guy, but he's the Nazi fixed my car. That's what this is. That's what happened here. And so when you see this stuff, this is Bannon. This is the Breitbart influence, and this
is on the speech, too,
exactly,
speech.
yeah, which is on the. I mean, that was a nationalistic speech, right?
Yeah.
And then you have, you know, we're going to get to more Bannon later, but that's consistent with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
How can we accept this? I mean, how can, these are American cities being villainized by the government, almost like they're sending spies in there to report? You know, that's what they did in the 60s in the civil rights movement. The FBI and Hoover's people would send people into the towns in Mississippi to see what sheriffs were being good to black people and report on police officers and sheriffs who were not following what the White Citizens Councils wanted, and reporting it back to the FBI.
Yeah.
This is what essentially a report on that. I mean, modern day.
So so this kind of stuff doesn't play. It only plays with that 36%, 33%, right?
Yeah.
So he's already, you know, I can't get over the fact that Donald Trump already has lower numbers than George Bush did after Katrina.
Yeah.
Right? So think about that. And then there was a wipeout in 2008 for the Republicans in the Congress, Senate, and the White House, right? We elected a black guy. So this kind of stuff is it should make a bloodbath in 2018 for the Republicans. It should make the Republicans have to run away from Donnie Tanahan's. But if we see... Well, if we see the Democrats finding ways to screw it up, oh, I'm going to vote for Ben Carson. Oh, I'll go along. I can do this. This is the kind of thing. This is where Bernie Sanders really needs to lead hard, I think.
Well, I mean, there's one thing that's working against them. I mean, that may be more true in 4 years, but in 2 years, by the numbers, this election that just passed was the opportunity to pick up seats.
Because of gerrymandering.
Exactly. But this one that's coming up, they have to defend way more seats than they have the opportunity to pick up. And so even if he's dragging people down, it's going to be very hard, just in terms of the schedule of what's coming up in 2 years. It's going to be very difficult.
It's going to, the numbers. Yeah, John's right there. The numbers are really daunting.
Yes.
But that being said, that there's going to be something vogue, we would presume, to go against this president on the parts of Republicans. You can be sure that Republicans, you can see it in Evan McMullin now, but you're going to see names that are much more familiar.
John McCain
and Lindsey Graham, but those are sort of old news type of people. I don't think they register.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, they're yesterday's Republican Party too. But you're going to have people that are going to want to get away from this president, and I think that that's going to be more of a challenge. And you also remember that they struggled to get Russ Feingold and the Democrats in this year, where Clinton did better than Feingold did, and these numbers which is bizarre. And the same thing happened in another Senate election where Clinton outdid. Well, I can't think of it right now. No, it wasn't Virginia that I'm thinking of. It may have been, but it was. In any case, it doesn't matter right this second. But the point is that there are ways of getting into this electorate that they're going to have to go about in a different way.
Let's return to the immigrant numbers, though, because I do want to point out one or two things. First of all, the hypocrisy that I already see people defending this. I did a story on my channel about this already, and people are saying, oh, we just want the information. We just want the information. These are the same people who don't think that police departments should have to report how many people they shoot, unarmed people they shoot. That's why we don't have that information. This is coming from the same side of the aisle that says that the CDC should be barred from researching gun violence. All of a sudden, they just want the numbers. Well, we already understand basically how this is going to go down. The Immigration Policy Center looked at data dating back over 1 century and concluded that native-born Americans are more likely to be incarcerated than Central American immigrants, and recent increases in immigration occurred as crime actually fell in the U.S. This is a fact that we've repeated over and over. They are less likely to commit crimes, and they go into why that might be. The reporter's authors wrote, "It's hardly surprising since immigrants come to the U.S. to pursue economic and educational opportunities not available in their home countries and to build better lives for themselves and their families. These are people who are motivated to improve their lives, not to commit crimes. Also, they're far more worried about being caught for even minor crimes and being shipped out of the country. And so we shouldn't be surprised that the numbers show that they commit crimes at actually lower rates." And by the way, this reminds, a lot of people have made this connection. This reminds me of something else, and this might tie back to the Bannon thing. If you could bring up this next graphic. You're going to see the former black crime section of Breitbart. They had a black crime section. I looked for the white crime section, wasn't able to find it. It's weird. I looked for the redhead crime section, wasn't able to find it. But they did have black crime because they want to context-free fear-monger about certain groups that they want you to hate and fear.
See,
and
that's where the brilliance, that's where the, like Steve Bannon, he has a certain brilliance as far as things go. I guess getting Donnie Tonahan's elected, you got to say that guy had something on the ball. But this is where this blind spot. I mean, this stuff does not play with most Republicans. It doesn't play with most independents, and it certainly doesn't play with Democrats. So, again, this is they're giving them these are self-inflicted wounds. You already have the people who this appeals to, is my point. Like the people who that appeals to, they already love you. They already know that you hate blackies, right? They don't need that more.
But could this be to inoculate them against where on the economic policies, like bringing in all the Goldman Sachs advisors and all of that, that would turn off a lot of his voters. But if you distract them with a bunch of, hey, look at these brown people, they're really scary. Look at they killed someone in San Jose.
Maybe that is it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we also have, and this is sort of tied into it, it's a part of a broader strategy. This is what Donald Trump was saying. I think this was with Muir just earlier this week. Said, talking about Chicago, it was brought up how he wants to send the feds in. He said, so far they've been unable to curb the city's murder rate. It's been going on for years, and I wasn't president. So look, when President Obama was there 2 weeks ago making a speech, very nice speech, 2 people were shot and killed during his speech. You can't have that. You also didn't have that because the Tribune confirmed that the Chicago Police Department that no shootings occurred during Obama's speech. But he just says it because he wants you to be scared of Chicago. He wants you to be scared of stereotypical inner cities. He will make up murders to support his position, and nobody can even figure out where he got that misinformation from. It wasn't on O'Reilly, and I don't think it was being spread on Breitbart. He's just making up out of whole cloth literal murders going on during speeches. And my worry, really, is that I agree with Jimmy that I think that this goes too far for a lot of people in America. My fear, though, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we do the Bannon thing later on, is I went over a poll showing people's views of the crowd size at the inauguration and things like that. People have become so, again, I'll use the term inoculated against facts and against reality. They just want to believe that when you showed them the 2 pictures of the inaugurations and you had the name, this is Obama's, this is Trump's, which one has more people in the picture? And 15% of Trump voters pointed to the Trump one that has 1/3, 1/4 as many people in it because they don't care at the end of the day. They don't care if it's inaccurate. They're driven by a desire to bow down before their great leader.
Yeah. And going back to the sanctuary cities thing, this is, this blather from Trump on it. It's not so easy to do. To strip funding from U.S. cities it's a good talking point, propaganda again, like John was saying earlier. But you don't just do it, and that's we talk about the bully pulpit and Obama using the bully pulpit. This takes a little more doing than that, fortunately. But still, it's to hear it coming out of the White House and out of this guy, this president, is ridiculous.
Well, we'll see how Trump uses it, because very rarely has the term bully pulpit been as accurate as when he gets out to address the country.
God.
Are you sick of the mainstream media? Then I got good news for you. We're going to hire some investigative reporters, and we're going to go house. We're actually going to investigate what's happening in this country and stand up for you guys. Help us do it. Go to tytnetwork.com/go. If everybody watching this video just gives a little bit of money, we'd have plenty to hire those investigative teams and unleash them on the country.